Commander Martin Fleet stared at the navigation console, his gray-blue eyes reflecting the cold shimmer of stars streaking past the viewport. The cramped cabin of the stellar wraith felt suffocating, made smaller by the presence of the alien woman perched on the bunk. 34 days. 34 days since he'd extracted her from Serolith, a world of sapphire oceans and crystalline spires. 34 days of her sapphire-blue skin catching the corner of his vision, her silver-violet hair flowing like liquid starlight when she turned her head. 34 days of pretending she wasn't there. You know, for someone who commands an entire starship, you're remarkably bad at conversation, she said, her voice a melodic hum that cut through the hum of the ship's systems. Her name was Aelira, though Martin hadn't used it in his reports. Prisoner, asset, intelligence operative. Those were the terms he stuck to. His jaw tightened as he kept his eyes fixed on the console. We're not here to converse. Then what are we here for, Commander? Aelira stretched, the black weave of her Serolithan bodysuit shifting across her lithe form, its subtle bioluminescent threads pulsing faintly. Because from where I'm sitting, we're just two people in a very small space, deliberately ignoring each other. Martin's fingers hovered over the controls. The mission had been straightforward: extract the Serolithan operative from her homeworld. Alliance intelligence believed she held critical data on Serolith's quantum defense grid, a system that could tip the balance in the escalating tensions between the Terran Alliance and the Serolithan Ascendancy. What they hadn't mentioned was that she'd come willingly, or that her presence would be so distracting. You're a prisoner of war, he said flatly. Aelira's laugh was like the chime of crystal, sharp and bright in the sterile cabin. Is that what they told you, that there's a war? Martin's fingers paused. There wasn't a war, not yet, but the Cold War between Earth and Serolith had been simmering for years, with skirmishes over trade routes and border systems threatening to boil over. His superiors had been clear: get the intel by any means necessary. You're an intelligence asset, he corrected, his voice clipped. And you're avoiding me. Aelira slid off the bunk, her bare feet silent on the metal floor. Her sapphire skin shimmered faintly, intricate patterns of light swirling across it like ripples in water. Ever since Jenkins died, Martin flinched at the name. Lieutenant Jenkins had been his second in command, a friend who'd shared too many late-night drinks and bad jokes. The ambush on their last patrol had been brutal, a Serolithan stealth drone turning their skiff into a fireball. Martin had dragged Jenkins's body back to the Wraith himself, the weight of it heavier than the shrapnel scars on his back. Jenkins has nothing to do with this, he growled. Doesn't he? Aelira was behind him now, close enough that he could feel the cool radiance of her skin like moonlight on his neck. You blame yourself, Commander, and now you're punishing yourself by denying everything. Martin spun his chair around, finally facing her. Her eyes, iridescent with vertical pupils like a panther's, held a mix of amusement and something softer, pity maybe. You don't know what you're talking about, he snapped. I know more than you think. She leaned closer, her silver-violet hair brushing the console. I know why your alliance sent you to capture me. I know about the quantum weapon they think my people are building, and I know you haven't slept properly in weeks. He stood abruptly, forcing her to step back. I'm checking the perimeter sensors again. That's the third time today, she called as he punched the door code with more force than necessary. You know, on Serolith we have a saying, Aelira said, her voice losing its teasing edge. A warrior who denies their heart denies their strength. Martin paused, his hand on the door panel. On Earth we say duty first. And is it your duty to pretend I don't exist? Her words were soft now, almost vulnerable. I came with you voluntarily, Martin. I'm not your enemy. The use of his first name hit like a shockwave. He turned, really looking at her for the first time in days. Her sapphire skin glowed faintly, the patterns shifting like waves under starlight. Her eyes held flecks of silver, bright against the dark vertical slits. Then what are you? He asked quietly. Aelira stepped closer, close enough that he could smell the faint ozone of her alien physiology. I'm someone tired of being ignored. Her fingers moved to the seam of her bodysuit at her shoulder, the fabric parting to reveal the curve of her collarbone. I'm someone who's watched you torture yourself for weeks. The suit slid lower, deliberate and unhurried. And I'm someone who's decided that if you won't acknowledge me, I'll make it impossible for you to ignore me. Martin's throat went dry as she continued, her movements bold yet graceful. Human male, she said, her voice steady despite the audacity of her actions. It's been over a month and you haven't deflowered me. I'm beginning to take it personally. His hand shot out, catching her wrist before the suit revealed more. Stop. Why? Her challenge hung in the air, her eyes locked on his. Give me one honest reason. The ship's warning system blared, bathing the cabin in pulsing red light. Martin released her instantly, military training kicking in. Proximity alert, he said, lunging for the console. Something's approaching. Aelira pulled her suit back into place. All business now. Pirates. Martin scanned the readouts, his brow furrowing. No, it's a Serolithan ship. They've found us. The stellar wraith rocked as the Serolithan ship's first volley struck, quantum pulses tearing through the void with surgical precision. Martin's hands flew across the console, activating defensive shields as the cabin shuddered, throwing him and Aelira against the bulkhead. Shrapnel rained from a collapsing overhead panel, and Martin instinctively shielded her, pain searing through his back as a jagged fragment sliced his shoulder. Blood soaked his uniform, warm and sticky, but he gritted his teeth, ignoring it. Martin, Aelira's voice cut through the ringing in his ears, her cool, sapphire-blue hands turning him over. Her iridescent eyes widened with concern. You're hurt. I'm fine, he growled, trying to push himself up. The movement sent fresh agony through his shoulder, and he hissed, unable to hide it. You're not fine, you stubborn human. Aelira's strength surprised him as she hauled him to the bunk, her silver-violet hair brushing his face. You've got metal in your back. The ship shook again, but the impact was softer. The Wraith's automated defenses were kicking in, deflecting the worst of the assault. Martin tried to stand, his vision swimming. We need to return fire. What we need is to stop you bleeding out. Aelira ripped open a medical kit from under the bunk, her movements precise despite the chaos. Hold still. Martin clenched his jaw as she cut away his uniform, exposing the gashes. This will hurt, she warned, her voice steady. The sting of her extracting the first shard made him grit his teeth harder, but he refused to cry out. The ship on auto defense, she said, working quickly. You programmed it yourself, now be quiet and let me work. He watched her through pain-hazed eyes, her sapphire skin glowing faintly as she removed fragments and applied antiseptic. Why, he asked, the words slipping out. Why what? She didn't look up, her fingers deftly sealing a wound with a regenerative patch. Why help me, I've been. He trailed off, guilt twisting in his gut. An ass, Aelira supplied, the corner of her mouth quirking. Yes, you have, but you just took shrapnel from me, so we're even. The ship lurched, accelerating as the autopilot engaged evasive maneuvers. Martin exhaled, relief cutting through the pain. We might make it. Of course we will, Aelira said, applying the final patch. I didn't come this far to die in a tiny cabin with a human who won't even look at me. Despite the pain, Martin laughed, a short, sharp sound. Is that what bothers you, that I won't look at you? Her iridescent eyes met his, serious now. No, what bothers me is that you won't see me, there's a difference. The ship jolted, throwing Aelira forward. Martin caught her with his good arm, her sapphire skin pressed against his bare chest, her face inches from his. I see you now, he said softly, his voice rough with pain and something else. For a moment they were frozen, the only sounds their mingled breathing and the distant hum of the engines. Aelira's fingers traced his jaw, cool and deliberate. Do you know why I came with you, Martin Fleet? He shook his head, not trusting his voice. Because on Serolith there's a prophecy, the Starlight Codex. It speaks of a star warrior with eyes like storm clouds who will change everything. Her thumb brushed his lip. When I saw you, I knew. Knew what? His voice was barely a whisper. You were worth risking everything for. The warning system fell silent, the ship breaking free from pursuit. In the quiet, Martin's heartbeat thundered. You don't know me, he said. I've been watching you for a month. Her fingers slid to his collarbone, avoiding his wounds. I know you're brave, loyal, stubborn to fault, and I know you want me as much as I want you. The truth hit like a quantum pulse. He'd buried his desire under duty and grief, but it had never left. Jenkins, he began. Would want you to live, Aelira finished. Not just exist, live. Martin's good hand slid into her silver-violet hair, soft as silk. I don't even know if we're compatible. Her laugh sent shivers down his spine. There's only one way to find out, Commander. Their lips met, her mouth cool and alien yet perfect. The kiss deepened, hungry and primal, breaking through the walls he'd built. When they parted, breathless, the cabin seemed to pulse with new energy. That answers one question, Aelira whispered, her lips brushing his. Martin smiled, the first real smile in weeks. We need more data. Her answering laugh was cut short by another kiss, and for the first time since Jenkins's death, Martin let himself feel beyond grief and duty. The Stellar Wraith docked at the Nexus trading outpost, a sprawling hub of interconnected stations floating in neutral space, its corridors buzzing with the clamor of a dozen species. Martin kept his hand near his sidearm as he and Aelira navigated the crowded central plaza, her sapphire skin drawing curious glances. His other hand rested at the small of her back, a protective gesture that felt natural now, though it earned them stares from passing Draconians and Tellarites. Aelira's silver-violet hair shimmered under the neon lights, and the pendant she'd given him, a glowing Serolithan sigil marking him as under the protection of the Starlight Order, felt warm against his chest. Your contact, where are we meeting them? Martin asked, eyeing a group of armored mercenaries watching them too closely. The Crystal Veil, Aelira replied, nodding toward a dimly lit bar across the plaza. It's run by a Serolithan sympathizer. They approached. Aelira stiffened, her iridescent eyes narrowing. Martin followed her gaze to a tall Serolithan male striding toward them, his skin a deep indigo with gold patterns that screamed high rank. His platinum hair was braided tightly, and his amber eyes locked on Aelira with cold intensity. Soren, she whispered, her voice tight. Not your contact, I take it, Martin said, his hand brushing his sidearm. Aelira of House Starlight, the Serolithan called, his voice carrying over the plaza's din. The Ascendancy is displeased with your absence. The crowd parted, sensing trouble. Martin noted some aliens slipping away, others edging closer for the show. Commander Soren, Aelira said, her tone formal but edged with defiance. I wasn't aware the Ascendancy had jurisdiction here. Soren's gaze shifted to Martin, his amber eyes narrowing at the pendant. So the rumors are true, you've bonded with this terrestrial. The word dripped with disdain. I've chosen the Star Warrior of the Starlight Codex, Aelira countered, her sapphire skin flaring, as is my right as a seer. Soren stepped closer, towering over them. A right promised to me, the Ascendancy approved our union years ago. Martin's temper flared, but he kept his voice steady. Look, I don't know your history, but you have no place here, human, Soren snapped, his hand resting on a quantum blade at his belt. This is a Serolithan matter. Considering I'm part of this prophecy, I'd say it's my matter too, Martin shot back, meeting Soren's glare. Enough, a new voice cut in, sharp and commanding. A diminutive four-armed Clithian approached, her pale green skin and 6 eyes blinking in a rapid pattern. Matriarch Vis, Aelira said, relief evident in her voice. We were coming to meet you. I grew impatient, Vis said, her lower arms gesturing sharply, and I sensed a confrontation that could ruin everything. She turned to Soren. This concerns all sentient life, Commander. Shall we continue in private, or do you wish to entertain every bounty hunter here? Soren's jaw tightened, but he nodded curtly. Inside the Crystal Vale's private room, Vis activated a privacy field, its hum sealing them off. She withdrew a pulsing artifact from a hidden panel, its form shifting between solid and liquid. The Starlight Key, Aelira breathed. The what? Martin asked. The third element of the prophecy, Vis explained. The Codex speaks of the Star Warrior, the Sapphire Bride, and the Starlight Key to avert catastrophe. Soren scoffed. A myth to weaken Serolith. A myth that responds to the prophecy's truth, Vis countered, holding out the key. Touch it together. Martin and Aelira reached for it, their fingers brushing. The key flared, its light merging their energies, transforming into a crystalline structure with patterns matching Aelira's skin. Vis's eyes blinked rapidly. The prophecy is confirmed. Soren's face darkened, but he said nothing. Martin glanced at Aelira. What now? We find the Temple of Starlight on Serolith, she said. That's where the quantum weapon must be neutralized. And where that? Martin asked. In the heart of Ascendancy space, Vis replied. Heavily guarded, no human has ever entered. Until now, Martin said, squeezing Aelira's hand. Soren laughed coldly. You'll die before you reach it. Then help us, Aelira said quietly. You know the weapon's flaw, it'll mutate and destroy Serolithans too. Soren's amber eyes flickered with conflict. I'll get you to Serolith, he said finally. What you do after is your funeral. Starlight Soren's ship, the Sapphire Fang, sliced through the void with predatory elegance, its crystalline hull reflecting the stars like a living prism. Unlike the Stellar Wraith's utilitarian design, the Serolithan vessel was all sleek curves and glowing panels, a testament to their advanced quantum tech. In their guest quarters, Martin paced, his healed wounds barely a twinge thanks to Aelira's care and Serolithan region patches. Aelira meditated, the Starlight Key floating between her palms, its glow casting patterns across her sapphire skin. I don't trust him, Martin said, glancing at the door. Soren's got too much history with you. Aelira opened one eye, her silver-violet hair pooling around her. You don't need to trust him, trust me. I do, Martin said, sitting beside her. It's the jealous ex with a warship I'm worried about, she smiled, closing her eyes again. Soren was a political match, not a personal one, the Ascendancy's choice, not mine. Could have fooled me, Martin muttered. The way he glares at me is irrelevant, Aelira interrupted, the key settling into her palm as she abandoned meditation. What matters is how I see you. Her iridescent eyes locked on his, sparking heat through his core. And how's that? He asked, his voice husky. Like you're the answer to a question I've carried my whole life. She leaned in, her lips brushing his ear. Like you're the human who claimed what was always meant to be his. Martin groaned, capturing her mouth in a deep kiss. The key pulsed between them, its light casting their shadows in a dance of sapphire and starlight. A sharp knock broke them apart. We're approaching Serolith's defense grid, Soren's voice announced coldly. Bridge now, Martin sighed, pressing his forehead to Aelira's. Impeccable timing. He's probably watching, she teased, unconcerned. Let's give him a show. Martin stole another kiss, grinning. Later, on the bridge, Soren stood rigid, his amber eyes fixed on the viewscreen showing Serolith's shimmering blue oceans and orbital defenses. Beautiful, Martin murmured despite himself. And deadly, Soren said, not turning, especially for humans. Good thing we're authorized, Aelira countered, standing beside Soren. Soren's mouth tightened. My codes will get us past the outer grid. After that, he let the words hang. We have the key in the codex, Aelira said. Prophecy will guide us. Prophecy won't stop a quantum cannon, Martin pointed out. Soren's lips twitched in a rare smirk. Perhaps the human has sense, a comm officer, his skin a pale azure, approached. Commander, we're being hailed by Defense Station Prime. On screen, Soren ordered. A stern Serolithan female appeared, her gold patterns marking her as high-ranking. Commander Soren, your return is unscheduled. My mission is classified, Soren said smoothly. Direct authorization from High Seer Thalon. The captain's eyes narrowed. I'll need to verify. Soren transmitted a code and Martin held his breath, he and Aelira positioned just out of view. After a tense pause, the captain nodded. Proceed Vector 428, welcome home. The screen darkened. Too easy, Martin muttered. It won't stay easy, Soren said, turning to them. Once we land, you have 12 minutes before secondary authentication flags my override. You faked it? Martin asked, incredulous. Of course, Aelira said, studying Soren. He's risking everything. I'm protecting Serolith, Soren said flatly. After landing, you're on your own unless I escort you as prisoners to the Temple of Starlight. What? Martin and Aelira said in unison. It's the only way, Soren insisted. I'll claim I captured you stealing artifacts. The guards will let me bring you to the inner sanctum. And then, Martin demanded. Then I get you to the Chamber of Convergence, Soren said. I received intel the quantum weapon deploys tomorrow. If it launches, we're all doomed. Martin exchanged a glance with Aelira, her sapphire skin flaring with resolve. Let's move. The capital city of Serolith was a marvel of crystalline towers and bioluminescent canals, its buildings pulsing like living organisms. Martin, in ceremonial restraints, marveled despite the danger, while Aelira, similarly bound, bore symbols marking her as a traitor. Soren led them through the bustling plaza, his indigo skin and gold patterns drawing deference. Keep your head down, he hissed at Martin. Prisoners don't gawk. Martin complied, but caught Aelira's eye. She stumbled suddenly, her pupils dilating. I hear it, she whispered. The temple it's speaking. Save it for inside, Soren snapped, glancing at the gathering crowd. The Temple of Starlight loomed, its angular design stark against the city's curves. Guards approached, their armor glowing. Commander Soren, the lead guard said, eyeing Martin, a human on Serolith. They stole sacred artifacts, Soren said. I need the questioning chamber. After a tense moment, the guard nodded. Inside, the temple's murals depicted the Codex's prophecy. In the sealed chamber, Soren removed their restraints. Minutes before they suspect, he said, move. Aelira swayed, her eyes distant. The full prophecy, it's clear now. The weapon's neutralization requires a sacrifice, the Star Warrior, the Sapphire Bride, or the rejected suitor. Martin's stomach dropped. Sacrifice? One must give their life force, Aelira said, her voice trembling, to power the key. Then it's me, Martin said without hesitation. No, Aelira gripped him. I won't lose you. It should be me, Soren said quietly. I have no place in your bond. Before Martin could argue, guards pounded the door. Commander Soren, the High Seer demands you. They know, Soren said grimly. Chamber of Convergence 3 levels down. The Chamber of Convergence pulsed with an ancient, almost sentient energy, its crystalline walls shimmering with patterns that mirrored the swirling bioluminescence of Aelira's sapphire-blue skin. The vast chamber, buried deep within the Temple of Starlight, felt alive, its air heavy with the weight of prophecy. At its center stood a towering pedestal, carved from a single prism of cerulite glowing with veins of liquid light. The starlight key hovered above it, spinning slowly in a column of radiant energy, casting fractal shadows across the murals that adorned the walls, ancient depictions of the Star Warrior, the Sapphire Bride, and the rejected suitor, their hands joined to channel a power that could reshape destinies. Martin Fleet stood at the pedestal's base, his gray-blue eyes reflecting the key's glow, his alliance uniform torn but his resolve unbroken. Aelira, her silver-violet hair cascading like a nebula, stood beside him, her iridescent eyes blazing with determination. Soren, the Serolithan commander, flanked them, his indigo skin marred with green blood from a recent skirmish, his amber eyes flickering with a mix of pride and resignation. The trio formed an unlikely trinity, bound by the Starlight Codex's prophecy and the looming threat of a quantum weapon that could annihilate both Earth and Serolith. We must hurry, Soren said, his voice taut as he sealed the chamber's massive doors with a quantum lock. The hum of the mechanism echoed, a temporary barrier against the temple guards pounding outside. The ritual begins now, or we lose everything. Martin studied the pedestal's intricate controls, a lattice of crystal circuits pulsing in sync with the key. How does this work? He asked, his military training keeping his tone steady despite the chaos of their situation. Aelira's fingers brushed the pedestal, her sapphire skin flaring as she interfaced with its energy. The key requires all three of us, Star Warrior, Sapphire Bride, rejected suitor. Our energies must align to activate it. Then one of us channels their life force to neutralize the quantum weapon. That's me, Martin said without hesitation, his jaw set. I'm the outsider here. If someone's got to pay the price, it's not going to be either of you. Aelira's hand tightened on his arm, her vertical pupils dilating with fear. No, Martin, I won't let you sacrifice yourself. Soren's amber eyes softened, a rare vulnerability breaking through his stoic facade. It should be me, he said quietly. The Codex names me the rejected suitor. My role ends here. Yours, he glanced at Aelira, then Martin. Yours is the future. Before Martin could argue, the chamber shook violently, the crystalline walls cracking as an explosion tore through the far side. Dust and shards rained down, and through the breach stepped High Seer Thalon, his obsidian skin gleaming like polished stone, his silver eyes burning with fanatical rage. Flanked by a dozen armored guards, their quantum blades crackling, he surveyed the scene with cold disdain. Soren, he sneered, his voice a low rumble that seemed to vibrate the air. Your treachery was predictable, but your audacity to bring a human into the Temple of Starlight is an abomination. Soren stepped forward, his own blade drawn, green blood dripping from a wound on his chest. You doom us all, Thalon. The quantum weapon's flaw will destroy Serolithans as surely as humans. Thalon's laugh was a harsh, grating sound devoid of humor. A necessary purge. Humans are a plague, spreading their chaos across the stars. Serolith will rise pure from their ashes, even if it costs a few of our own. Martin's temper flared, but he held his ground, his hand inching toward the Starlight key. Genocide's a hell of a way to prove your superiority, he said, his voice sharp. You're not saving Serolith, you're killing it. Thalon's silver eyes narrowed, and he raised a hand, signaling his guards to advance. You defile this sacred place, terrestrial. Your kind will never understand the purity of our purpose. Aelira's sapphire skin flared brighter, her voice resonating with the authority of a seer. The Codex speaks of unity, not destruction. You've twisted its words to justify your hatred. The guards hesitated, their blades wavering as Aelira's words echoed. Thalon's face twisted with fury. Enough, seize them. Martin didn't wait. He lunged for the Starlight key, his fingers closing around its crystalline form. Expecting a burn, he was stunned when its energy flowed into him like a cool tide, merging with his own. The key pulsed, its light amplifying, and Aelira rushed to his side, her hands joining his on the artifact. Their energies intertwined, sapphire patterns dancing between them, the chamber's walls humming in response. Martin, Aelira cried, her voice a mix of alarm and awe. It's not draining you. It's channeling, Martin said, his voice tinged with wonder. The key's energy felt alive, not destructive, as if it recognized him as the Star Warrior. Human physiology, it's amplifying the key, not sacrificing it. Aelira's eyes widened, realization dawning. The Codex never meant death, it meant channeling. Your human energy signature is the catalyst. Thalon roared, his quantum blade flaring as he charged. Soren intercepted, their blades clashing in a burst of violet sparks. Green blood sprayed as Thalon's weapon slashed Soren's chest, deeper this time. Soren, Aelira screamed, her hand tightening on Martin's. Finish it, Soren gasped, staggering but holding Thalon at bay. Now, Martin focused, willing the key's energy to surge. The chamber filled with a blinding dome of light, expanding outward like a supernova. The quantum weapon's components hidden across Serolith began to disintegrate, their destructive potential neutralized by the key's power. Thalon froze mid-attack, his blade raised as the light enveloped him. Instead of harm, the key latched onto his negative energy, his hatred, his fanaticism, draining it like a sponge. His obsidian skin dulled, his silver eyes dimmed, and he collapsed, a withered shell of the zealot he'd been. The guards, witnessing their leader's fall, dropped their weapons, some kneeling in awe, others fleeing into the temple's depths. The dome of light pulsed once more, then faded, leaving the chamber silent save for the hum of the key. Aelira rushed to Soren, who slumped against the wall, his wounds severe but his regenerative biology knitting them closed. "You did it," he said weakly, a faint smile breaking through his pain. "The prophecy fulfilled." "We all did," Martin said, helping him to his feet. "You held the line." Aelira's sapphire skin glowed softly as she touched Soren's shoulder. "You honored the Codex even when it cost you everything." Soren's amber eyes met hers, a flicker of old longing buried beneath acceptance. "It cost me nothing worth keeping," he said. "Your bond, it's what the prophecy needed, not me." The chamber doors burst open and temple guards poured in, their armor glinting, but the lead guard, an elder with intricate gold patterns, froze at the sight of the glowing key, Thalon's defeated form, and the trio standing united. "The Starlight Codex," he murmured, dropping to one knee. "The prophecy is fulfilled." The others followed, their blades lowered in reverence. "Rise," Aelira said, her voice carrying the weight of her role as seer. "No more kneeling to false ideals. Today, Serolith and Earth begin anew." The elder guard stood, his eyes wide with awe. "The High Seer's plan's the weapon, it's gone, neutralized," Martin said, holding up the key, its light now a steady, comforting glow. "Your planet's safe, so is mine." The guard hesitated, then bowed deeply. "We will escort you to the Ascendancy Council. They must know the truth." The council chamber was a marvel of Serolithan architecture, its domed ceiling a mosaic of cerolite crystals that refracted light into a kaleidoscope of blues and violets. The Ascendancy Council, a dozen Serolithans with skin ranging from pale azure to deep indigo, sat in a semicircle, their expressions a mix of shock and skepticism, as Martin, Aelira, and Soren recounted the events in the Chamber of Convergence. Thalon, now conscious but subdued, sat under guard, his once imposing presence reduced to a shadow. "You claim the quantum weapon is destroyed?" Counselor Vera, a female with silver patterns, asked, her voice sharp. "And that this human is the Star Warrior?" "The Starlight Key confirmed it," Aelira said, holding up the artifact, its crystalline form pulsing softly. "Martin's energy, combined with mine and Soren's, neutralized the weapon. Its components are inert, scattered across Serolith. Your own sensors can verify." A younger counselor, his skin a vibrant teal, leaned forward. "And Thalon, he orchestrated this." Soren stepped forward, his wounds bandaged but his posture unyielding. "Thalon manipulated the Ascendancy, twisting the Codex to fuel his anti-human crusade. I helped bring Aelira and Martin here, knowing the weapon's flaw would destroy us all." Murmurs rippled through the council, Vera's eyes narrowed. "You betrayed your own commander, Soren." "Why?" "Because I'm a Serolithan," Soren said, his voice steady. "My duty is to our people, not to one man's madness. The Codex spoke of unity, not division. I saw that truth too late, but I see it now." Martin glanced at Aelira, her sapphire skin glowing with pride. He stepped forward, his alliance uniform a stark contrast to the council's robes. "Look, I'm not here to play prophet or hero. I'm a soldier who wants peace. Your weapon threatened my world, but it would have taken yours down too. We stopped it together. That's what the Codex meant, Earth and Serolith, not one or the other." The council exchanged glances, their bioluminescent patterns flickering in thought. Vera stood, her silver eyes appraising Martin. "You speak boldly for a terrestrial, but the key's activation cannot be denied, nor can the weapon's neutralization. We will convene to discuss terms of peace with your alliance." Martin nodded, his jaw tight. "Good, because I'd rather not fight my way out of here." Aelira's laugh like crystal chimes broke the tension. "He's stubborn, but he grows on you." Vera's lips twitched, a rare sign of amusement. "So it seems you, Aelira, will represent Serolith in these talks. Your bond with this human, it is unprecedented, but perhaps it is the bridge we need." As the council adjourned, Martin pulled Aelira aside, his hand finding hers. "You okay with this, being the face of Serolith?" Her iridescent eyes sparkled. "I was born for it. Just like you were born to crash into my life and change everything." He grinned, brushing a strand of silver-violet hair from her face. "Best mission I ever botched." Soren approached, his expression softer now. "I'll stay to ensure Thalon faces justice," he said. "You too, you're the future the Codex promised. Don't waste it." Martin clasped his hand. "You're not so bad for a jealous ex." Soren's laugh was grudging but genuine. "And you're not so bad for a human." 6 months later, the Unity, a joint Terran-Serolithan diplomatic vessel, glided toward Earth, its crystalline hull a testament to their new alliance. Martin stood on the observation deck, his gray-blue eyes fixed on the blue-green planet growing larger in the viewscreen. Aelira, now Serolith's ambassador, adjusted her formal robe, its bioluminescent threads matching her sapphire skin. Her silver-violet hair was braided intricately, a nod to her seer heritage. "Nervous?" Martin asked, slipping an arm around her waist. About meeting your mother and explaining why we married on Serolith without her, Aelira teased, leaning into him. Terrified, he laughed, the sound echoing in the quiet deck. She'll love you, just don't mention the part where you had to practically undress to get my attention. Her smile was radiant, her patterns flaring with contentment. I love you, Martin Fleet, stubborn, brave, and just a little bit idiotic. I sacrificed my solitude for you, he said, his eyes soft. My walls, my guilt over Jenkins, and I'd do it again. She rose on her toes, kissing him deeply. You gained a galaxy, she whispered, and me. As Earth filled the view screen, Martin reflected on their journey from a cramped cabin where he'd tried to ignore the most captivating woman he'd ever met to standing as partners in a peace that spanned worlds. The Starlight Codex had brought them together, but their bond, forged in trust, sacrifice, and love, would carry them forward. And as Aelira's laughter echoed, promising more adventures among the stars, Martin knew he'd never regret answering her challenge that first night. The diplomatic vessel Unity hung in low Earth orbit, its crystalline hull, a fusion of Terran engineering and Serolithan aesthetics, gleaming like a beacon of hope against the backdrop of the planet's blue-green curvature. Commander Martin Fleet stood on the observation deck, his gray-blue eyes fixed on the swirling clouds below, his Alliance uniform crisp but his posture relaxed, a far cry from the tense soldier who'd first met Aelira 6 months ago. Beside him, Aelira, Serolith's first ambassador to the Terran Alliance, adjusted her formal robe, its bioluminescent threads poolsing in sync with her sapphire-blue skin. Her silver-violet hair was braided intricately, a nod to her role as a seer, but her iridescent eyes sparkled with the playful mischief Martin had come to love. Still nervous about meeting my mother? Martin asked, slipping an arm around her waist, his fingers brushing the glowing patterns on her skin. Aelira leaned into him, her smile teasing. Less about your mother and more about explaining why we got married on Serolith without inviting her. Humans are sentimental about such things, yes. Martin chuckled, the sound warm in the quiet deck. She'll forgive us once she sees you, just don't mention the part where you had to practically strip to get my attention. Her laugh, like crystal chimes, filled the air. You're never letting that go, are you, human male? Never, he said, pulling her closer, his lips brushing her temple. It's my favorite mission debrief. Their moment was interrupted by a soft chime from the console, followed by a holographic projection flickering to life. Captain Elena Vasquez, the Unity's Terran commander, appeared, her expression grim. Commander Fleet, Ambassador Aelira, we've got a situation. Incoming transmission from Serolith Priority 1. Martin's stomach tightened, his soldier's instincts kicking in. Put it through. The hologram shifted, revealing Counselor Vera, her silver-patterned skin and stern demeanor unmistakable. Ambassador Commander, she said, her voice clipped. We have a problem. A faction within the Ascendancy, loyalists to High Seer Thalon, has seized a hidden quantum cache in the outer reaches. They're calling themselves the Purifiers. Aelira's sapphire skin flared, her pupils narrowing to slits. Thalon's dead, the Starlight Key drained him. Vera's eyes darkened. Not dead, comatose. His mind was shattered, but his body lingers in stasis. The Purifiers claim they can revive him using the cache's technology. Worse, they've activated a dormant quantum pulse array, a prototype of the weapon you neutralized. It's not as powerful, but it's enough to destabilize Serolith's core if deployed. Martin's jaw clenched. In Earth, can it reach us? Not directly, Vera said. But the fallout would disrupt trade routes and destabilize the sector. The Ascendancy requests your assistance. The Unity is the closest vessel with both Terran and Serolithan expertise. Aelira exchanged a glance with Martin, her hand finding his. The Starlight Codex warned of a shadow rising after the light. This must be it. Martin nodded, his mind already racing through tactical scenarios. We're on it, send coordinates and intel, and Vera any sign of Soren. Soren is leading a small Ascendancy task force to intercept, Vera replied. He insisted on joining you, he feels responsible. The transmission ended and Martin turned to Aelira, his gray-blue eyes steady. Looks like our honeymoon's on hold. She smirked, her patterns glowing with resolve. You humans and your honeymoons, let's save the galaxy first, then we'll talk vacations. The Unity dropped out of hyperspace near the outer reaches, a desolate region of Serolithan space littered with asteroid fields and abandoned mining stations. The quantum cache was hidden within a derelict facility, its crystalline structure half buried in a massive asteroid. Long-range scans confirmed a dozen Purifier ships, sleek predatory vessels bristling with quantum weaponry, patrolling the perimeter. Soren's task force, 3 Serolithan cruisers, was already engaged, their energy shields flaring under heavy fire. Martin stood on the Unity's bridge, Aelira at his side, her presence a steady anchor as he coordinated with Vasquez. Soren's holding them off, but he's outnumbered, Martin said, studying the tactical display. We need to punch through their line and board that facility. Aelira's eyes narrowed, her fingers brushing the Starlight Key now worn as a pendant around her neck. The Codex speaks of a second convergence, a test of unity after the first victory. The key might be our edge. Vasquez, a no-nonsense woman with a scar across her cheek, raised an eyebrow. You're saying that glowing trinket can take out a quantum array? It neutralized a planet killer, Martin said, his tone dry. I'd say it's got a shot. The Unity joined the fray, its hybrid weapons, Terran plasma cannons and Serolithan quantum beams cutting through the Purifier fleet. Martin piloted a shuttle with Aelira and a small team weaving through asteroid debris as Soren's cruisers provided cover. The facility loomed ahead, its crystalline spires jagged and foreboding. Shields at 60%, Vasquez reported over the comm. You've got 10 minutes before we're overwhelmed. Copy that, Martin said, guiding the shuttle into a docking bay. The team disembarked, weapons ready, Aelira's sapphire skin glowing faintly in the dim light. Soren met them inside, his indigo skin marred with fresh wounds, his amber eyes fierce. You're late, Soren said, a ghost of a smile breaking through. Had to make an entrance, Martin shot back, checking his sidearm. Where's the array? Lower levels, Soren said, leading the way. The purifiers have a quantum shield around it. Conventional weapons won't breach it. Aelira held up the starlight key, its light pulsing. This will. They navigated the facility's labyrinthine corridors, their boots echoing on crystalline floors. Purifier guards ambushed them twice, their quantum blades flashing, but Martin's training and Soren's skill dispatched them efficiently. Aelira's agility surprised Martin, her movements fluid as she disarmed a guard with a kick that sent his blade skittering. You're full of surprises, Martin said, catching his breath. She winked, her patterns flaring. You have no idea, Commander. They reached the array chamber, a vast cavern where a pulsating quantum core glowed, its energy distorting the air. Purifier technicians scrambled, but their leader, a Cerulithan female with crimson patterns named Clara, stepped forward, her eyes blazing. You're too late, she hissed. The array is charging. Cerulith will be purified and Thalon will rise. Aelira's voice was steel. Thalon's vision was a lie. The Codex demands unity, not destruction. Clara laughed, drawing a quantum whip. The Codex is a myth for weaklings. We'll burn the human taint from the stars. Martin didn't hesitate. He fired, his plasma pistol grazing Clara's shoulder, but her whip lashed out, wrapping around his wrist and yanking him forward. Pain seared through his arm as he hit the ground, the whip's energy burning. Aelira lunged, her own blade, a ceremonial seer's dagger, clashing with Clara's whip, forcing her back. Soren tackled another technician, his strength overwhelming despite his injuries. Get to the core, he shouted. Martin scrambled up, Aelira at his side. They reached the array, its quantum shield crackling. Aelira pressed the starlight key against it, her sapphire skin flaring as the key's energy resonated. The shield wavered but held. It needs all three of us, she said, her voice urgent. Like before. Soren joined them, blood dripping from his wounds, and placed his hand on the key. The chamber shook as their energies merged, the key's light intensifying. The shield shattered, exposing the core. Clara screamed, charging with her whip, but Martin fired again, this time hitting her leg, sending her sprawling. Now, Aelira said, guiding the key into the core's interface. The chamber filled with light, the array's energy destabilizing as the key neutralized it. The purifiers fled, their plan crumbling, but Clara lunged one last time, her whip aimed at Aelira. Martin tackled her, taking the whip's lash across his back. Pain exploded, but he held Clara down until Soren restrained her. The core shut down, its glow fading, the threat ended. Aelira knelt beside Martin, her cool hands on his face. You idiot, she whispered, her eyes wet. Stop throwing yourself into danger for me. He grinned weakly. Habit, Soren helped him up, his amber eyes warm with respect. You're not bad for a human. Back at you, Martin said, wincing. The Unity extracted them, the Purifier fleet retreating into the asteroid field. Back on the bridge, Vasquez clapped Martin's shoulder. Nice work, Commander. You and your ambassador make a hell of a team. Aelira's patterns glowed with pride. He's more than a commander, she said, her hand in his. He's the Star Warrior. Martin pulled her close, ignoring the pain in his back. And you're the Sapphire Bride who keeps saving my ass. Her laugh echoed as the Unity prepared to return to Earth, the shadow of the Purifiers dispelled for now. The Unity docked at Earth's primary orbital station, a bustling hub of Terran diplomats, traders, and military personnel. Martin Fleet stood in the diplomatic lounge, his wounds from the outer reaches battle healed thanks to Cerulithan region patches, though a faint ache lingered as a reminder of Clara's quantum whip. Aelira, resplendent in her ambassadorial robes, stood beside him, her sapphire skin glowing softly under the station's artificial lights. Her silver-violet hair was loose now, cascading over her shoulders, and the starlight key hung around her neck, a constant reminder of their shared destiny. They were preparing for a historic summit, the first formal peace talks between the Terran Alliance and the Cerulithan Ascendancy, set to solidify the fragile truce forged by their actions. Martin adjusted his dress uniform, feeling out of place among the diplomats. You sure you're ready for this? He asked Aelira, his gray-blue eyes scanning her face. Earth's politicians can be prickly. Aelira's iridescent eyes sparkled with amusement. Compared to facing down a quantum array, I'll manage. Besides, I have you to keep them in line. He grinned, slipping his hand into hers. Just don't expect me to be diplomatic. I'm better at shooting things. Her laugh, like crystal chimes, drew curious glances from nearby aides. That's why I married you, Commander. You're my favorite blunt instrument. Before Martin could retort, the lounge's door slid open, admitting Soren, his indigo skin and gold patterns striking against his ceremonial ascendancy armor. His wounds had healed, though a new scar crossed his chest, a badge of their shared fight. His amber eyes met Martin's with a nod of respect, a far cry from the hostility of their first meeting. The Ascendancy delegation is ready, he said. Councillor Vera sends her regards and a warning. The purifiers may be scattered, but their ideology lingers. Martin's jaw tightened. They're like roaches. You squash one nest, another pops up. Aelira's patterns flared briefly. The Codex predicted this, a shadow that persists until the light is fully embraced will need to stay vigilant. The summit began in a grand chamber, its walls lined with holographic displays of Earth and Cerulith, symbolizing their shared future. Terran diplomats led by Admiral Helena Cortez sat across from the Cerulithan delegation, Vera at their head. Martin and Aelira took their places as mediators, the starlight key glowing softly as a symbol of their authority. Soren stood guard, his presence a quiet reassurance. Cortez, a stern woman with graying hair, opened the talks. The Terran Alliance welcomes this alliance, but we need assurances. The Purifier's actions suggest Serolith's stability is fragile. Vera's silver eyes narrowed. The Ascendancy has purged Thalan's loyalists. Our stability is no less secure than Earth's, given your history of internal conflicts. Martin suppressed a smirk. Point to Vera. He leaned forward. Let's focus on what unites us. The quantum weapon's gone, thanks to the Codex. But the Purifiers are still out there, and they're not picky about who they hurt, human or Serolithan. Aelira nodded, her voice calm but firm. The Starlight Codex speaks of a lasting convergence, a bond between our worlds. We propose a joint task force to hunt the Purifiers and secure both our systems. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber, but a Terran diplomat, a wiry man named Kessler, stood. And what of this key? It's a Serolithan artifact. How do we know it won't be used against us? Aelira's patterns flared, but her tone remained steady. The key responds only to the Star Warrior and the Sapphire Bride. It's a tool of unity, not a weapon. Martin placed his hand over hers, the key pulsing between them. I'm human, Kessler. If I trust it, you can too. The talks progressed, agreements forming on trade, defense, and cultural exchange. But as the session broke for recess, a low rumble shook the station, followed by a blaring alarm. Vasquez's voice crackled over the comm. Commander, we've got hostiles. Purifier ships just dropped out of hyperspace. They're targeting the station. Martin was on his feet, Aelira and Soren beside him. How the hell did they get this close to Earth? He demanded. Stealth tech, Soren said, his amber eyes narrowing. Thalan's designs, they're here for the key. The chamber erupted in chaos as diplomats scrambled for safety. Martin grabbed Aelira's hand, pulling her toward the command center. Vasquez, get the Unity ready to launch. Soren with us. The command center was a hive of activity, Terran and Serolithan officers working together to repel the attack. The view screen showed 3 Purifier ships, their crystalline hulls cloaked in quantum distortion fields, firing on the station's shields. They're after the key, Aelira said, clutching the artifact. If they take it, they can restart Thalan's work. Not happening, Martin said, his voice hard. He turned to Vasquez. Can we board their lead ship? It's risky, she said, but their shields drop when they fire. We've got a window. Martin, Aelira, and Soren boarded a combat shuttle, launching into the fray. The Purifier ships were fast, but the Unity's hybrid weapons gave them an edge. Martin piloted, dodging quantum beams as Aelira and Soren manned the guns. There, Aelira pointed to the lead ship, its hull glowing with a familiar pattern. That's Clara's vessel. They breached the ship's docking bay, fighting through Purifier guards to reach the bridge. Clara stood at the command console, her crimson patterns blazing with defiance. You can't stop the purification, she snarled. Thalan's vision will live. Martin fired a warning shot, scorching the deck beside her. Thalan's vision died with his sanity. Stand down, Clara lunged, her quantum whip cracking. Aelira countered with her dagger, their movements a blur. Soren tackled a guard, clearing a path for Martin to reach the console. He interfaced the Starlight key, its light disrupting the ship's systems, shutting down its weapons. Clara screamed, her whip grazing Aelira's arm, but Soren tackled her, pinning her down. The Purifier fleet, seeing their flagship disabled, retreated. Martin helped Aelira up, her sapphire skin dimmed but her eyes fierce. You okay? He asked. I'll live, she said, managing a smile. Thanks to you. Back on the station, the summit resumed, the attack strengthening the resolve for unity. Cortez and Vera signed the treaty, establishing the Terran-Serolithan alliance. Martin and Aelira stood together, the Starlight Key a symbol of their shared victory. As the Unity prepared to depart for Serolith, Martin pulled Aelira close on the observation deck. We make a hell of a team, he said, his gray-blue eyes soft, her patterns glowed, her lips brushing his. The Codex chose you for a reason, Star Warrior. And so did I, he kissed her, the stars beyond promising new adventures, their bond the light that would guide both worlds forward.